Hello and welcome to Paradise Delayed, my series of talks about dangerous and delusory belief systems. Some of them involve a god, but with or without a god, they all pander to our fear of uncertainty and promise an eternal age of gold to be ushered in after a great cataclysm. And my first talk is about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, you've all seen them, neat cheap suits and briefcases for the men, sensible shoes and a book bag for the women. Sometimes they've got small children in tow. Do you hide? Or do you just reply briefly and quickly close the door? Do you have any view on them? Well, one that I have heard is that they're simply, they're just another religious group, a bit enthusiastic, nerdy perhaps, but, harmless. Well, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness and can confirm that this sect is essentially evil and cruel. This is the essence of their message. God will very soon murder you in a great orgy of destruction unless you adopt our beliefs and practices to the letter. That means you must attend several meetings a week. You must buy our literature with your own money and distribute it free of charge. You must go door to door telling all who will listen that God will soon murder them unless they too follow the same way of life. Yes, the Watchtower Society, the controlling organisation of the witnesses, is a pyramid sales preaching organisation. Of course, they don't phrase it like that. Images of a paradise earth free of death, disease and want they will try and beguile you with. And the unhappy, the lonely, the simply curious may well listen as the door knocker rambles on about the world today with its drugs, AIDS, terrorists, famines, wars, oil spills, echoes, disasters, always plenty of horrors on the news that the witnesses love to hear about and remind their listeners. The desperate, the pessimistic, yes, they may warm to this message of a world free of care which will come in a flash. All latter-day troubles are signs, say the witnesses, that were warned of in the Bible by Jesus himself. Signs that the world is nearing its end and the great battle of Armageddon is almost upon us. As a child, I had envisaged leading only a very short pre-Armageddon life, devoted exclusively to this great divine cause. Now, for all that I ceased Kingdom Hall attendance in my early teens, never mind door knocking, it took many years and matters of reading before I was finally satisfied that the witness message was a package of cruel and dangerous lies. Such is the power of childhood imprinting. Now, there are many, many groups, books, videos, Facebook groups, of people whose lives are at one time perverted by this cruel sect. And the hatred and anger left in their wake marks them out straight away from mainstream Christianity. I mean, I've never seen a video or a book by an angry ex-Methodist, for example. Members of mainstream churches, through boredom or realisation they no longer believe, they're not condemned and shunned as outcasts by their erstwhile church. The witnesses are different. Dissenters are excommunicated. Disfellowshipped is the term they use. Existing members are ordered to shun them, never to speak, and fear of being rejected by friends and family is sometimes the only reason that members stay within the organisation, even when they've ceased to believe that the leaders in Brooklyn are God's sole channel of communication with earthlings. Yes, that is their preposterous claim, that a bunch of controlling and rather ignorant old men in Brooklyn are God's specially appointed and unique earthly rep. Now, their pretension stems from one biblical verse from the Gospel of Matthew. In the 24th chapter, Jesus is talking about an imminent cataclysm when the world would be purged of all things wicked. The disciples had asked him when this end of the world, as it were, might come, and what the signs would be, and Jesus said, towards the end, a faithful and wise servant, whom his ruler hath made ruler over his household, will give them meat in due season. What do you make of that? Well, from this verse alone, all Jehovah's Witness leaders have decided that they were referred to by Jesus. They're the ones divinely appointed to guide humanity in these last days before the great battle of Armageddon. Now, the witness leaders proclaim that their every single pronouncement is incontestable truth as issued direct from the Almighty. Indeed, witnesses refer to their membership of the organisation as being in the truth. Now here are some truths dictated by God's earthly rep since the foundation of the sect, or the emergence on earth of the faithful and wise servant in the 1870s in Pennsylvania. Armageddon, which will destroy all non-Bible students, which is what the witnesses used to be called, will occur in 1914. Abraham, Isaac and Jacob and the faithful prophets of old will be resurrected in 1925. Armageddon will occur in 1941. Armageddon will occur before the death of the last Jehovah's Witness baptised before 1914. Armageddon will occur in 1975. According to the current leadership, all the foregoing are still truths. They've simply been filed as old truths and past truths. Now this linguistic separation from the rest of us is but a beginning. Birthdays, Christmas, Valentine's, Easter, adherence to the truth has since 1925 demanded that witnesses celebrate none of these diabolical pagan feasts. The death penalty administered by their all-loving Jehovah at the imminent Battle of Armageddon is here, as everywhere in the organisation, the deterrent against defiance of divine law as dictated by the faithful servant, the Brooklyn bosses. All JWs are ordered to preach door-to-door several hours a week. Yes, their children go to school but are warned against satanic teachings like, well, the theory of evolution. For a witness, education is complete when you can read witness literature and you can repeat it door to door in the mandatory preaching work. Hence the discouragement of a university education, or indeed any course of life that could distract from life's central mission. Door-to-door preaching to warn the world of the imminent Battle of Armageddon, when God will murder all who do not follow, to the letter, witness teachings and diktats. You might ask, how on earth do educated adults come to believe and spend all their spare time at their own expense promoting this transparent nonsense? Well, for all the rigid conformity of the organisation, all of us ex-JWs will have a different story to tell. But a common thread is vulnerability. I was very vulnerable as a 5-year-old. I had no armoury of information or skills in reasoning whereby to reject their finely honed mind control techniques. The batteries of biblical quotes employed to bolster every witness pronouncement were, to my childhood mind, evidence enough. As I said at the beginning, the witnesses may appear to be just a quaint and harmless group of religious enthusiasts. The facts, however, show that the witnesses have all the hallmarks of a closed cult. Strict and demanding regime, suspicion and fear of the world beyond, divine authority of the bosses. My next video will explain the danger inherent in the very concept of holy books. The Bible, after all, is claimed as the sole authority for witness dogma, and if, unlike the witnesses, you want to create a benign and reasonable creed based on the Bible, you have to be very selective, inventive and free with the text. After all, the end of the world, Satan, Judgment Day and Hellfire, they're still in the Bible, for all that, for example, Thought for the Day speakers rarely mention them. Well, thank you for listening and watch out for the next vid.